Okay, good morning, everyone. Uh, we have covered four modules uh, in the previous classes. If you open the syllabus and if you check what are the things we have discussed till now, see, these are the things we have discussed. Creating the building a simple app, how to debug, uh, how to create an interface, means the different types of use and different types of background task. And also we have discussed the what is the use of this Firebase, what is the performance, security, what all the permissions we have to give, how to publish. Okay, these are the things that we have discussed in the previous classes. Okay, now we are going to discuss on these things. The module 4, we have already covered four modules and we are discussing the last module. And compared to the other module, this information about what is there in the module 4, it is somewhat complex in the understanding purpose. I'm saying uh, somewhat advanced informations are there uh, for you, since you're from the different background. Okay, uh, the informations what you have learned about the application development, that is enough for any simple to develop any applications. But as and when the requirements uh, changes, you require more functionalities. Okay, uh, I'm going to discuss in brief in this module. Uh, uh, okay, we'll start with the this chapter, storing data. See, what they are going to discuss in this chapter is actually how we are going to store the data. See, even where we can create the user interface, that is not a big thing. But finally, what we have to do is we want some data to be stored, and that data, if it is required at some time, we have to retrieve it. For that purpose, we are going for this app data. At real time, we want some data. Then we want to make some facility to store it somewhere. Okay. In this chapter, what all the things they are going to discuss is what is the where actually we are going to store. As we know, in the mobile there will be an internal storage and there will be an external storage. Okay, there will be an internal storage and external storage. Uh, you can store the files in the internal storage and also in the external storage. External storage is nothing but the card, the external memory what you are going to add. That is what we are saying external storage. And you know the advantages of internal and external. Internal is nothing but inbuilt. See, that is always be available. But external means that memory card you have to connect or any other USB storage that you are going to connect, or you are going to connect it to the uh, computer, that we are going to call it as an external storage. Actually, how to interact with that storage, that is what they discuss in this chapter. Okay, and you have seen the circular from the VTU that it is an open choice question paper in the exam. The meaning of that is even if you study the first three modules, that is enough to write for 100 marks. Okay, that is an advantage is there for you. All these things you can read it for your knowledge purpose. The module 4, that you can read it for the knowledge purpose. What I suggest is I want you to read module 1, 2 3 and 5. Okay, you please read these four modules for the exam. That will help you uh, to score more than 80 to 90 marks. If you target for 100, no problem. It is easy to score more than 80 in the exams. I suggest you to study module 1, 2, 3 and 5. Okay, and I have shared the notes with you. That is enough for you to prepare for the exams. Okay, but I'll discuss some of the topics in this module 4 that will give you some information about the database and the storage. The internal storage and the external storage. The external storage is the devices, the storage devices that we are going to connect. Okay, in the internal storage, but actually it will comes with the mobile itself. The external storage means that you are going to connect through the ports. Whenever you connect the external storage, if it wants to be detected by your app, or from your app it wants to store it in an external storage device, you have designed the app, and that app has to find out the file in the memory card, or it has to read the data from that memory card. If you want to do that, then you have to give a permission. See, all the permissions, everything that we have to give it in the manifest file, XML file. There you have to add this permission. Users permission, Android colon name, Android dot permission dot write external storage. In that case, you have a permission to read, or you have a permission to write. Okay, so this is to write and this is to read. Okay, if you want your app to read a file from the external storage device, or if it wants to read the file from the external storage, you have to add this inside the manifest file. If you don't add, you cannot read, even though your memory card it will be there in your mobile. You have to give this permission. See, first you have to check whether your operating system has provided, whether it has detected the external storage. That is called as the external storage is mounted or not. You first we have to check it whether it is mounted, then we can read it. Okay, that is what they discuss in this chapter. It's all about the storage, the internal storage and the external storage. We are not at all interested in these type of storages. Why? Everything, whenever we want to search, we want get the data in the real time. For that purpose itself, we will go for uh, the databases, that is called as SQLite database. Okay, that we are going to discuss now. What they say about this SQL, one more thing, some more information is required before we start the SQL Lite. See, there is one another way of storing the data. One thing is you are going to use internal storage and external storage, where you are going to store the data and you are going to retrieve. For that, you have to put some uh, permissions in the manifesto.xml. Okay, you have another way of storing the data. We are going to discuss so many other ways. One more way is database. Okay, that we are going to discuss next. In this shared preferences means there is a class called shared preferences, where you can store very small amount of data. Small amount of data is nothing but a name with a age, a name with a USN. You entire profile you cannot store, means that we are going to call it as use data. Okay, that is why In the shared preferences, what it supports is it will help you to read and write only the small amount of primitive data, that too in terms of key value pair. Okay, this if you create, if you can use this preference, it is like a storage. The shared preference, it is like a storage. With that shared preference, that handle, even you can read, write, or manage the data. See, it is like a temporary storage. It is like our the purse what we keep, wallet what we keep in our pocket. A small amount you can keep it in our pocket. Okay, like 5,000, 5,000, 10,000. Okay, that much we can keep it in our wallet, right? It is like that. You can store only a small amount of primitive data, that too in terms of key value pair. If you want to see how we are going to store, see here. See there, how to create is get shared preference class is there. This is where the preference it is going to create, and this is a object now. In this object, this is a container now. Inside this, we are going to store everything. We have got the object from this class. This is an address where actually uh, the shared preference will be. This shared preferences. Even you can start using this from the main file, that is called activity file, main activity. From there itself, you can start using it inside the on create method. If you create an object of this like this, and you get the preferences. Now this is a container where you can store everything. How to store? It will be like this. See here, my preference dot edit. This is the object you have got. Now my preference dot edit. Inside this preference editor, you can start putting the values. Key value. Key value. What is the key? Count. Count 20. Color some red. And preference editor dot apply. Then it saves. Okay. Now what we have done is two informations we have stored it in one preference. Wherever we want, we can get it that value. Here it is put int. We have a function called get int. My preference dot get int. If you give the color, then you will get that particular color. Then that color you can use it somewhere. Okay. Okay. What are the things you have to give? If you give the get int, that color, if you give the key, then you will get the value. Then you can use it. That is how you can. Uh, what happens if what will be the second parameter here? What is the second parameter for get int? If we want to give key, that is enough to get the value. What is the second parameter is if it doesn't finds inside the uh, that shared preference, if that key is not there, what we should return, this get int, what it should return, it should return this default value like this. My preferences dot get int count, it is going to give. We have stored 20. Assume that we have stored 20. Count, it will return 20. If this variable is not there, by mistake I have changed this variable to count 1, that key is not there, then what it should return, it will return 1. This is a default value it is going to return. That is why second argument is default value. If this key is not found in the shared preferences, then the second default value will be returned. This is how we are going to use this shared preference. It is like a small storage. It is, you can assume it as an array. If you know, in the C language there is a terminology called arrays. It is like that, but there you cannot store it as a key value pair. You cannot map, but here you can store. Okay. See, you we have stored two things. One is count, another one is color. Now, if we want to remove these two, what we have to do is we want to clear it. In order to clear, there is a function called clear and then apply. If you do these things, first it is going to remove uh, all the whatever the data we have stored key value pairs, everything will be removed and that will be applied. It is like a persist, means saving. Okay, clear means whatever we have stored till now inside this editor, everything will be removed. See, this is an all temporary container where you can store the values and you can get it. There are some options which are there in the Android itself. What they have given is, assume that you have stored this variable. See, yes, there is a put int. Inside that, this is a key called a number, and the value you have stored is 42. If something gets changed in the shared preferences, I want an alert or I want to do some action. For that, there is uh, a listeners. There is a listening for preference change. If something gets changed inside the preferences, some action I have to do. In that case, you have to write this. This is the one. Public void. This class you have to write. Implements on shared preference change listener. This is the change listener you have to add. On shared preference change listener. See, this C is fixed. You cannot change. These are all classes which are already given by the Google. This things, this everything is same. Inside this if condition, that is custom. Whatever the actions you have to do, if something changes. See, if key dot equals key preference synchronization connection, if this is a key, or else what is my key? My key is number. If the key dot equals number, then if the number is 42, I have to show the alert to the user that you cannot store the number greater than 40. That alert I am going to store it inside. Then alert will automatically come when the user enters some 42 from the input. Automatically that alert will come to the user. That is what this listening for the preference changes means. If something changes inside the shared preference, uh, I want to do some actions. For that, you have to write this code, listener. You have to attach the listener to the shared preference. Okay, that is what they discuss in the shared preferences. Then we'll move on to the. Don't worry about this chapter. This app setting. It is all related to the settings. Whatever we have seen in the uh, in our mobile. In our mobile, what are the settings we see? That settings they are going to discuss here. Ah, this is the one. Some information is required for you, which is important whenever you learn this application development. Okay, what is this SQLite? See, SQLite is a database. What about Firebase? Firebase is also database. SQLite, what it is so special is It is very similar to your SQL language. SQL language, what you have learned, MySQL, I think you have not learned. But if you know, if you have some basic information about the MySQL, uh, it is almost the same. And this SQLite, it is inbuilt inside the app, inside the Android SDK. The SQLite will come with default. You no need to add any plugin or any library to this. But when it comes to the Firebase, some configurations you have to do it in the Android Studio, but no configurations are required for this SQLite. Okay, this SQL database, you know, right? Everything we are going to store in terms of rows and columns. Every row it will have a unique ID will be there. Columns will be identified with the names. This is a normal SQL database. The same thing that you are going to see it in the SQLite. Okay, what is the advantages with this is by default inside the Android studio, inside the Android uh, software development kit, the SQL database engine is there. You no need to add for this. There is no server is required, no extra configurations are required, nothing. If you directly start using it, it is the most widely deployed database engine in the world. Okay, that is why it is so famous. It will come by default. See, this is how one table looks. A table name is word list. This is a unique number. It cannot be duplicate. Word alpha first letter, beta second letter, alpha particle third letter. One row, each row is unique. How it is unique? With this ID. What all the operations I can do on this table? I can insert, I can delete, I can update. Any transaction I can do it. Okay, any sequence of operations I can do on the table. How to do that? See, these are the operations: insert, delete, update, or just retrieve. Just retrieve is nothing but you will just see it, see the values based on the criteria. If you want to know what is the structure of an any query, if you want to know any structure of an query, this is how is the structure. If you want to see some, I have shown some table, right? Select word description. These are the two columns. Since you don't know the syntax of an SQL, I'm saying this. Select is a keyword. These are the two column names, or how many column names you want. You want to see that we have to display. From is a keyword. Next is a table name. Where is a keyword, and condition. Word equals alpha. For word equal alpha, then what is an output is, what is the output from this table is, from word equals alpha, we want to display word and definition. Then you will get the output alpha first letter, alpha particle. Two things you are going to get. Because what is the criteria? Criteria word equals alpha. Word equals alpha. You will get word and description. These are the output. Output will be alpha first letter, alpha particle. Two things it is going to display. Select columns from table where column equals value. Then it is going to display the column whose name equals value. Do you have any name with the value? No. See here. If you want the entire table, if you want the output like this, if you want the output exact, whatever it is there, three entries are there, all the values if you want, then you have to print like this. Star, select star from the table name. If you want only two values, select word definition from the table where ID is greater than 2. Where ID is greater than 2 means alpha particle. This is the ID, right? See, actually they have given it wrong. If it is greater than 2 means it cannot print 2. It is going to print only 3. Okay, this is wrong. Uh, this is actually wrong. Which one? ID greater than 2, it cannot be alpha and particle. Uh, it is only the last one. Which one? This is the one. ID greater than 2 is, this is 3. Oh, sorry. Word and definition, right? Okay. Alpha particle it is going to display. See, this is a sample queries. This is a sample query. And what will be the output? Output from that table. This is the one. See, if you add this order by, see, if you start learning this subject, this database, it is a very big subject. Okay, it's a very big subject. The database that you cannot learn in 1 day or 2 days. It takes months together to learn this database structure. Okay, just try to understand the basics of that. What is the syntax? All those things. Okay, we'll see now the SQL Lite database. This is the name, SQLite database. That in detail we are going to discuss here. What we are going to discuss in this SQLite database chapter is uh, this SQLite database. As I said, it will come built in with the Android package. It's a very good. It is the most famous, widely used database, SQLite database, because if you want to use the other database, all the configurations that you have to do. But this if you use this SQLite database, it's very simple. That is why they are going to use this. But what is the problem with this is it is going to take the memory of your mobile internal storage. Internal storage space it is going to use. Okay. There is no need of internet connection for this. There is no need of internet connection. That is why everything gets stored in your mobile itself. That too app storage, not to in the internal memory. You cannot find it. It's everything stored inside the app itself. Okay. If you want to understand what is this cursor is, it is just like a pointer. That pointer it will go through inside the object where you from where you will get using this cursor you can get the values whichever you want from the cursor object. You can get what is the number of rows which are there in the table, like this. See here, cursor db dot raw query, you are going to write some query from this cursor object. You are going to get all the values if you want to print anything. Okay, first we'll see how to store an any value. How to store a simple example. How to create? Yes, see here. How to create? There is a sorry, I'm not working about. This is about the creating the database. What is the first step in the database you have to do is you have to create a database. Inside that you have to create a table. Inside that you have to start doing the operations, insert operation, delete operation, and update operation. How to create? See this, there is a function called on create SQLite database db dot execute SQL, that is for creating the table. This is for creating the new database. Whenever there is no database, you have to create using this on create. Inside this, you are going to create the tables. Then you can start adding it. This is the first step. You just leave about this upgradation. Upgradation is not at all required. Then database operations. Which are the database operations that we are going to do? Insert, update, delete, and select. See how to pass the query. There is a function called raw query. Inside this, you have to add the SQL query. Okay. The second one, it is the selection arguments. This is a query we have to pass. I'll show an example. Where is an example of raw query? Here. See here. This is an database object dot query word list table. Which is a table? The table is word list table. Next comes the arguments. Next comes the first is a table name. Next comes the arguments. What is this? Columns. Which are the columns you want? I want word or I want description. There are three columns are there. ID, word, description. In that I want ID or I want word. That you have to store it in the columns. Next, where. See, instead of writing that complete query, what we have done is we have passed it as the arguments. We have passed that as an argument to the function called query. Instead of this query, you can directly pass it to the raw query also. I'll write the entire string itself. Select star from table, order by keyword, limit some position 1. I'll write this raw query itself and I'll directly pass this query to the raw query function. What here I am doing is directly I am passing the query. Here, this function, dot query function, the mreadable db.query. Here, what we have done is everything I have passed it separately. Okay, table name, that is the first one. Then columns. Columns means all the columns I want. Next, I don't have any conditions. Order by keyword. See, everything it is an argument. It's a parameter. Okay. This is two ways you can send the query. One function is query and the another one is raw query. You can use any of the function. What it is going to return? It is going to return you the cursor object. From the cursor object, you can get the values. From the cursor object, you can fetch the values. Whatever the values which are there, that you can fetch it. See the next function, insert. Now the table is there. Now I want to insert some value. What is the function? This is the function I am going to use. Insert. What is the table name? And what are the parameters you are going to pass? See one example. There is a table dot insert. This is a table name. Null values. What are the values it is going to insert? Content values. Delete. From which table you are going to delete? The first argument is the table name, which is the where clause, and if you have any arguments. This is a table. What is the key ID? See, what is the syntax of a delete? Delete from, this is in the SQL. If I say the uh, raw query, delete from table name where ID equals 1, then first row gets deleted. This is one example. Delete from table name where some column name equals value, id equals 1, then first row gets deleted. That is what we have passed it here. That where clause key id equals something, that we are going to pass it. Question mark if you add, that it will be passed. This is an argument that we are going to be passed. In the same way, update table name. If you want to update, you can update with this function. What if you want to count how many values are returned? Then there is a function called dot count that will return you the uh, count how many entries are there in the database. Okay, this is how you are going to interact with the SQLite database. Internally, this is how it happens. Okay, this don't worry about this. This is some extra informations about the database. It is not at all required for you. Shipping a database with your app, backing up. This is all not much important here. Okay. Now, till now we have discussed about the SQLite database. Now, I am going to discuss about the content providers. See, there is a repository which contains the data. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to write app. Our app is going to fetch the data from the database. But on top of the database, there is some one more layer. That class, it is responsible for providing us the data. That is what this content provider is. This content providers is, see, there is a SQLite database and we are here activity. If you want the data from the SQLite database, you are not going to get it directly. You are going to ask content resolvers. Content resolvers will query the content provider. The content provider, with the help of the SQLite, it will interact with the SQLite database and it will fetch you the data. For us, we assume that our activity is interacting with the SQLite, but at the background, what happens is the activity will ask content resolvers. The content resolvers and the content provider, by default, it is given from the Android, Google itself. It is a library. That library, that software, it knows how to get the value from the SQLite. Why they are required? Directly my screen, my app will interact with the SQL database. Why these are required? Content resolvers and content providers. The advantages is the multiple apps. See, multiple apps, if they start using a single data source, there is a problem of security. That is why these content providers, it will provide secure access, use and modify a single data source. There will be a single database because multiple users may be using, multiple apps may be using. That is why, in order for security purpose, it will be helpful. And also, these content providers, if they are going to sit between the database and our user interface, they are in between, right? Our screen is different, database is different. In between, content provider is there. We are just going to worry about providing the data or fetching the data. Don't worry about how to get the data from the database. That is why we can store the data independently from our app, because our content provider sits between. That is why we are not worried about how to get the data from the database. That internal detail is not at all required for us. It will helpful for the programmers, developers. In that way, there are so many advantages are there. Okay, that is what the content providers and the content resolvers. Okay, see, if these are all the things, if you start learning, it will be good for developing and complex applications. But for simple applications, what are all the things that we have discussed, that is enough. Okay, if with that much of information, content providers and uh, content resolvers, I will move on to the last topic in this module, that is called loaders. What actually is the loaders? The loaders is nothing but, uh, see, whenever we start opening the app, it takes some time to load all the data, right? After that only the app will be ready. You will see some loader. During that time, what happens is, from the database, all the data will get fetched. There is a research will be done by a separate organization. If any apps, if it takes more than 3 seconds to load, in 140 people will stop using that app itself. That is the survey they have done, because the people are not ready to wait until the data gets loaded into the app. They want quick result, quick response they want. That is why we should not overload user interface thread. User interface thread, which is a main thread. We should not overload, because that is the thread which gets loaded whenever the app is loaded. Everything should be done in the background process. There are some classes which are called as loader classes. Those loader classes, they will help you to load the data from the database into the screen. Okay, that is responsible for loading the data into the screen. Okay, what are these loaders? They are the separate classes. What they will do, they will help you in loading and reloading the data asynchronously. What is the meaning of this word asynchronous? Means, even though if you are doing some other work, the data gets loaded without disturbing your work. If you are clicking something, or if you are fetching the data from database, that is not going to create any problem. You can do your work. The loader will update the data wherever it is going to be required. Where actually these loaders are available? These are available for every activity. Wherever Java files you write, in all the activity file, in the fragments, these loaders are available. What actually these loaders? The loaders are they are the separate classes. They will help you for to get the load the data from database asynchronously without disturbing your work. That is in the background. What actually will be there in the background? What is an architecture? This is how it works. See, there is a data here, database. On top of that, always there will be a content provider. We are going to use the cursor loader instead of content resolvers. As I said, content resolvers will communicate with content provider. Content provider will get the data from data. Instead of this content resolver, we now use the cursor loader. The cursor loader, it is going to query the content provider, it will get the data. If you compare, this is faster. Compared to the content resolver, cursor loader is faster. The cursor loader is a class. The cursor loader is a class that is going to query the content provider, and content provider will get you the data. How to implement the cursor loader? The cursor loader, what at all it contains is, it wants activity, it wants loader manager, it wants cursor content provider and cursor provider. Callbacks are required, and cursor adapters are required. Why this loader manager is required? This loader manager is the responsible for to give you the this loader classes. This one. If you want this cursor loader, then who is going to manage this? This loader manager. Okay, he is the one who is going to provide you the uh, a loader. How actually you are going to get the object of that? You will get the object like this: get loader manager dot init loader. See, if I say some, it is going to manage, it is going to bring this object. Actually, there is some work it is going on in the background. We cannot directly open the app and show. We can give this much of information. Whenever you develop an app, then only in detail you are going to understand. As of now, what I say is this loader manager, it is going to manage all the loaders. I can say that manage is nothing but there are so many objects, loader objects are there. That loader objects, when it is to be created, which content provider it has to interact, from where it has to get the data, and this loader classes, which it is related to which activity. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, and with this information, the callbacks, there are three callbacks: on create loader, on load finished, and loader reset. These are the callbacks that will help you to manage the loaders. Okay, don't worry about these callbacks. This is not much important to develop an any app. Finally, what I can conclude on this chapter or this module is, uh, it is all related to about the storing the data. If you want any information in particular about the SQLite or SQLite database connections, you can contact me, or you can ask me in the uh, uh, any of this, so WhatsApp or Google Meet. We'll discuss if you develop any app, how to interact with the SQLite SQL database, and this will be the last class or discussing about this mobile application development. Okay, all the best for your exams. Thank you.